Good morning, good morning. Peace and blessings to y'all. Let me get a sound check real quick. We get this thing going. Welcome back, everybody, to the Big Money Mini channel. This is our book club, and we are ready to begin chapter 6. First of all, I just want to say peace and blessings to you all. Happy and excited to be back on the air today. It's been a while, and I definitely don't want to be doing things like this, like taking days off. I think we took like 2 weeks off since chapter 5, and chapter 5 was very impactful. Definitely, you got to check that out. Something that really, I'd say, out of all the chapters we read in the two books that we read this year, that's definitely something that I really had to work on, which is management of my time, management of sleep, get my sleep pattern down. I still operate like I'm a bouncer that stays up to 3 or 4 in the morning, and then try to get back up in the morning like everybody else does, and try to function like everybody else. It just doesn't work. So you gotta really manage your time. And one of the things that he suggested, and it really helped him in his schedule, is going to sleep. Having the focus of getting up at 5 in the morning, then 4:30 in the morning, and buying yourself that time to really prioritize things throughout your schedule, and so that you can focus the best you can. Definitely something that I needed to work on, something I needed to master, and I gave it a shot these past 2 weeks, and I like getting up early in the morning. Um, I like going to bed, before 2 in the morning. As you can see, it's 12:50 right now. Still adjusting, made some, made some strides. You know what I'm saying? I'm really happy with changing that up, and I'm excited about being a morning person and mastering that, owning that. So that being said, a lot of changes happened in the past couple of weeks. Um, I'm now a teacher. Stay at home, like father, running a business from home, and uh, teaching my kids. We decided to homeschool. With all the craziness going on, and plus, it's just the best thing for a child to have their parents more involved with what they learn, and their basic skills pretty much. And we're excited about that. I definitely recommend it. Do what you guys have to do to make that happen. And yeah, man, shout out to my wife for the partnership that we have and the decision that we made, and of course, God's blessing upon it. Anyways, guys, we have a short chapter today, chapter 6. Again, you got to read chapter 5. That was one of the most impactful things that I've ever read. And, it sounds simple, but just the way that he puts it in perspective, like I love the way Bedros Keuilian writes, the way he puts things in this book. Our book is called Man Up. You can see it right here in the corner of your screen. But definitely, if you're new to the channel, this is going to be the first time we're broadcasting live on our Facebook. So, share this, follow us, guys, subscribe, and, share it to somebody who you feel might benefit from reading a book. This is all about self-improvement. This is all about getting better, working on our mindset to become the best person, best people we possibly can be, to live with the potential that God put into you. And we're going to do that by self-improving, and working on ourselves. Don't let TikTok be the only thing that tries to teach you something. I definitely recommend a book. There's a lot more thought that's put into it, a lot more effort. And definitely these are the fruits that people have, the people who've done something in their life. These are the results that they find to be essential for your success. And so here they are sharing it with you. Why not take advantage of it? All right. So like, share, and subscribe. Again, we are at Big Money Manny on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We are also going to be broadcasting on Anchor. As soon as we get that up and running, we have some things that we got to change. Definitely working on our set here, the sound and all that. So pray for us. Follow the links are in the description to all of our pages. Again, this is our book, Man Up by Bedros Keuilian. Gentlemen, you see on the bottom right of your screen, and this is our chapter today, the 5% rule, chapter 6, guys. So he starts off talking about a 3-minute lesson that he, it took 3 minutes for him to learn this $5,000 lesson. He says in 180 seconds, he lost $5,000. Right. And it was a very painful and expensive lesson that he's learned. Right. And it was at a time that he could not afford to lose $5,000. He said he had just started his consulting business. He started a business to where he would promote himself through emailing lists, and businesses would hire him to be a consultant to them so he can give them tips and tricks on how to run their business the best they can. And these people would pay $5,000 for a session. That was the promotion that he had. All right. So at the time he was not renting. He was using one of his spare bedrooms in his house as an office, ran his business out of there. He had one employee, right, who was his secretary at the time, or what do you call it, an assistant. And so his wife ran upstairs, told him that one of the sprinklers had busted and the water was getting all over the place. And since he's a handyman, he decided to go downstairs and fix it himself. So he goes downstairs, works on this pipe in the backyard. And he said he's knee deep in mud and plumber's tape is what he called it, or plumber's glue, trying to fix this problem. He said he was a handyman. He knew how to do these things. And so he figured he'd go down there and fix it himself. Meanwhile, his assistant comes downstairs, says, "Hey, I got a qualified client who is looking to pay the $5,000, for that consulting." And so he told her, "Great, go ahead and close the deal. And I'm gonna fix. I have a pipe to fix right now." So she goes up there. So he says he fixes it, and he gets upstairs. He washes his clothes, washes up, gets back into the office, and he found that his assistant was not able to close out the deal. All right. And so he says, I realized at that moment that making a broken sprinkler pipe a higher priority than my business cost me a $5,000 sale. All right. That's a lot of money, guys. And so for one close, that's pretty good. Now, that's a little better than what we got going on in our business. Still, our business is great. But $5,000 a deal is definitely nothing to sneeze at. And so he says that, he could have easily paid a lawn maintenance guy $25 to fix the broken pipe. And of course, he was upset. He was really upset, not at his assistant, but he was upset with himself because he chose to do the trivial work. He chose to do something that wasn't as important, but because he prioritized that over his business, it cost him $5,000 in 3 minutes. All right. So he was upset about that. He says, I chose to do the trivial work and I should have delegated someone else to do that. And I asked my assistant to do the critical work. All right. So he says a $5,000 sale was lost because I was doing work that was outside of my, quote, zone of genius, unquote. I love that. All right. So we got to stay in our zone of genius. We got to stay working on what matters, working on what you can do. And this is what the 5% rule is all about. Right. So that wasn't good leadership on my part, he says. And it certainly wasn't a good experience that I delivered. And that was an eye opener to me because, sometimes I write things off to do something later, and I don't service a client as best as I could, even if it was something small, something simple. A client will take the smallest thing and take that as, uh, not great service. And it could be anything that small little thing that um, that you override, that you just push it aside to do something later, as we sometimes do. You know, a client will take that one little thing, and that could be a grounds for them to complain, grounds for them to take as, uh, you know, unsatisfactory service. So it said it wasn't a good leadership move on his part because that's what he's teaching his secretary, his only employee at the time, and it wasn't a good experience for that client to experience. All right, and so here we are, guys. The 5-chapter rule, right, was born at that moment, and then there he decided, I will now focus exclusively. I will focus exclusively and unrelentingly on the 5% of things in my business and life that only I can do. All right, that's huge. All right, so that is what that 5% rule is. All right, so let's read it again. It says, I will focus exclusively and unrelentingly on the 5% of things in my business and life, right, in business and in life, that only I can do. All right, again, Bezos Cooley dropping a bomb, in my perspective, because this right here is me. I'm able to do a lot of things. I have skills in many different areas. There's a lot of things that I can do, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be the one doing it. I got to focus on what is most important and most productive, as we learned from our coaches, Hector Lamarck, who says that you got to do the most productive thing at any given moment, at any given time. You need to be working on what's most productive. The 5% rule here is that if I'm the one that runs my business, if this business is driven on me, if this vision is driven on me, by me, right, and based on what I do and my results, I need to be the one who focuses on it. Getting some feedback from a car. All right. I need to be the one that focuses on it. I need to be the one who gets my hands on it. I need to be the one who answers that call and closes the deal. Right. He says, I gotta focus exclusively on those things. All right. So that has to be the only thing I focus on, and I gotta be relentless about it. All right. So I gotta be very clear and concise, and I need to let everybody know that this is all that I'm focused on. All right. It says, reading on, it says, it's simple. When you apply the 5% rule to your business, it will free you from the trivial tasks that waste your time. All right. That's huge. So pretty much just focusing on the most important things. This is a follow-up to chapter 5, because chapter 5 talks about figuring out what time you wake up throughout the day, every day when you get up to go to work or get up to run your business. And he said he focused on waking up at half an hour earlier, changing that up to, in his schedule, changing up his schedule from then on, and trying to do that for a week straight. And after that, do another half hour. So now you're at 1 hour. You're waking up 1 hour earlier than what you usually wake up, or at the time that you usually wake up. And he said it was great. It was as if he bought himself an extra hour throughout the day. Of course, he said you have to sleep earlier, to make sure that you can hit that goal of waking up an hour earlier. But it's free time. It's quiet time. You're able to focus a lot better. You're able to prepare yourself a lot more for the day, and you can prioritize things. And the night before he goes to sleep, he makes sure that he writes down and figures out what are the 2 or 3 things that he's going to crush throughout the day. So he's very focused. He doesn't just get up and just go where the wind blows. Very focused on what he's going to do next. The 5% rule allows you to focus only on the things that depend on you doing, right? That depend on you to work on it so that it can be done the best it can. Of course, once a business grows, eventually, depending on what type of business you're in, you're eventually going to work yourself out of the field, and you're going to delegate this kind of work to everyone else. But it's a process. But in the beginning, it's very crucial to have you focusing on those things so that you can grow your business and evolve it to the next level. So he says here, when you apply the 5% rule to your business, it will free you up from the trivial tasks. So it'll free you up from the things that really don't matter. I mean, things that have to be done, but it's not really important. It's not, the most crucial thing right now to your business, right? As an example here, he's talking about a broken pipe in the backyard shooting water all over the place. Is it important? Of course it is, right? But is it the most important thing for his business? Absolutely not, right? And it keeps you from wasting your time. It says it'll save you from doing things that are outside of your zone of genius. And I love how he says the zone of genius, where when you're in the zone of genius, that is you, focusing on what you do, right? If you're whatever business you have, when you're in your zone of genius, you're doing what your business does. You're performing. You're doing what you set out to do, to get what you set out to get paid for, whether it's a product or a service. Just because, he said, reading on, he says, just because you know how to fix a broken pipe or change a light bulb or write payroll checks or make a website doesn't mean that you should be the one doing it, right? I love that, right? So just because you know how to fix it, you know how to change a light bulb, you know how to write the checks and make a website, that does not mean that you should be the one that's doing it, all right? So let's be honest. There's a lot that must happen to keep your business running, but most of it can be outsourced to others. All right, that is huge right there, guys. So in the beginning, of course, if it's just you, hey, you got to do everything, just like this podcast that we're growing here. Of course, I have plans of building something big in the social media world with this podcast. Right now, it's just me. It's me, my wife, that contribute to this podcast. And, if you watch the video, it started up, the very first video was, reviewing the first chapter of my book, which was the 25 Biblical Laws of Success. And I did it in my truck. It eventually started using Zoom and got a microphone and got another microphone. And this is my third microphone here, the one I really wanted, but we had to get into the process and work our way up, start adding things, start adding lighting, a background, things like that, the green screen. It takes time, and eventually, right now we're on what is this, StreamYard, but eventually I'm going to have someone who can, do all these graphics for me, in this process, just like in business. Right now we have an office, and eventually I wouldn't have to go out and find cold market sales. Eventually our team will grow. We're going to find competent people who are driven, who will do all that for us, help us to grow this business, get more boots on the ground, if you will. All right. And I love that. He says someone's got to do the marketing, the selling, the servicing, fulfillment, bookkeeping, accounts receivables, new product and service development, writing of payroll checks. Someone's got to clean the restrooms, stock supplies, run profit and loss reports. They got to do the quarterly taxes and all the things that need to get done just to keep the lights on. It says someone's got to do these things, but it does not mean that it has to be you who is doing these things. It doesn't mean that you should be doing it. All right. Very big, very big. So you see that all the things must be done to keep your business running. Only 5% of them are the critical few that should be done only by you. And these things are the things that really move the income needle, right? Again, that lesson that he learned. He depended on his secretary to close the deal, which was the critical work, the most important thing, but she failed in that aspect. If it was him, he could have done it. He could have closed that sale and got that $5,000 and continued to pay his employees paychecks, right? And kept business moving. But he depended on someone else when it should have been him. Right? So someone's got to do these things. That doesn't mean it has to be you. Your 5% might be the calls that you make, or the meetings that only you can take, or the opportunities that only you can seize. The remaining 95% are the tasks that can be done by others, often for $25 an hour or less. That's huge. And so if you're struggling with that, with delegating, um, finding other people to do this kind of work, he says that 95% of the tasks that you're thinking are so very important for you in your life, can be done by others, often for $25 per hour or less. I remember having a talk with my wife and just telling her how easy it is to do an oil change and we're wasting money. But she always comes back with, yeah, but it's costing you time. What could you have done? How much more work could you have done in the business in that time that you used to change the oil or get your hair cut and things like that? Because I cut my own hair and things like that, right? Or whenever I don't feel like going to the barber. Barbers are it's good to go to the barber. That's the better decision for you as a business owner. Don't waste your time. All right, that could be done for less than $25 an hour or less, just like how we were talking about right here in this chapter. All right, so he says, why on earth do you do the work that is trivial and that can be done by others for a relatively low cost? All right, I don't think you're going to see Richard Branson in the cockpit of Virgin Atlantic, in the next Virgin Atlantic flight that you take. He doesn't fly the planes or serve you wine and peanuts, although there are hilarious photos of him dressed up like a female flight attendant going around on the internet. He works on his business and he focuses on the 5% of the tasks that only he is capable of accomplishing for growth. That's huge, all right? How do you identify your 5%? All right, so for his client Byron, which he mentions before in his book, he had to take a list of everything that he does for his business and in a 1 month period. So take a list of everything that you got to do for your business in an entire month, right? Write all that stuff down, and then to each task, right, you got to put a letter C for critical, or those are the things that are high value tasks, things that maybe you should be the one doing because you're the owner. For the important things, put a C for critical, and everything else that is not in that 5%, put a T next to it for trivial. All right, so those are all the things that he can delegate to others. All right, so remember, an effective leader spends his day working on his business and not in it. That's huge. An effective leader spends his day working on his business, not in it. All right, so being the boss, not the salesman. All right, it says for that to happen, you've got to identify the critical tasks that fall within your 5% and spend most of your day working on those things. Then you find competent people and delegate the remaining 95% of the trivial tasks so that you never have to do them yourself. That's huge. Next, your to-do list, which we all know, and your not to-do list. To be a high performer in your work, you've got to start your day with a to-do list. All right, and I have the little Google app that shows up on all my Google apps. If I'm using Gmail or Drive, I have the little task list on the right side of my screen. It's also linked to my phone. I have the app on my phone, so I could add shopping lists on there. I can add things that need to be done for the house, things that need to be done in business, things I need to deliver, goals, things like that. Love it. I love looking at my goals. Got to get better at it, though. All right, so to be a high performer in your work, you've got to start your day with a to-do list. Okay, so now, that being said, your not to-do list is just as important. So let me share a few things that are on my not to-do list, right? So a lot of people that have a to-do list, right? Things that they got to get done. How many people do you know that have a not to-do list? And so here are a few that he's listed here. He says, I will not go to the grocery store. I will not go to the dry cleaners. I will not write on a press release. I will not write a blog post. I will not book my flights and hotels. I will not answer my phone if someone randomly calls me. Right. So next time, your wife says, "Hey, we need to get this, this, and that," you will say, "I will not go to the grocery store. I will not go." I just went. So definitely you got to have that's awesome that he has that. So we learned this from our coach in business too, Mario Munoz. There's things that he didn't have to do because he paid to have a live-in nanny. They didn't have to cook. They didn't have to clean. They didn't have to do laundry. They didn't have to do any of those things because you hire people. You have someone to take care of your lawn. You hire someone to take care of your pool. He just mentioned this the other day, actually. You have someone to do all that kind of thing. He has an assistant. He has a guy, Gabe, DJ Gabe, who does his audio visual and has the lighting, the environment, everything set up right. So when people come in, they're in that haven. That environment that keeps us excited and happy and wanting to get more done. All right. And so because he hires people and puts them in place and delegates the work that needs to be done, he doesn't have to be the boss and the guy who's trying to get the lighting done and get the sound done. I hope you like the 80s music that I got going on. I just been really digging the 80s vibe, these synthesizer music lately. Getting the lighting done for the podcast, for the aesthetics. One day I won't have to do all this kind of stuff. I just go out here and talk and, do my thing. Right. So that's how it is in the business. At first it's just you, but soon you'll have people you can delegate that work. So here's the best part. Right. Just because I won't do it doesn't mean that that it won't get done. Okay, got it. Let me read that again. Just because I won't do it doesn't mean that it won't get done. Thank God for my amazing team, my wonderful wife, and my family. He says they handle all the tasks that I've listed above and a dozen more so that I can focus on building the business to its fullest potential which ultimately helps everyone. They do these things for me because I've made it clear what I am working on, the things that only I am capable of doing. Now that speaks to me because I mentioned earlier that we became brand new teachers here, stay-home parents and, becoming, what do you call that? Homeschooling parents. And it's definitely a mission, shout out to my wife who's watching, commenting right now. It's different, and I can feel the vibes. There's a lot of people that aren't exactly in agreement with the decision that we made, but there's things that you have to do. If you feel that it's critical for you and your family, critical for you and your business, you have to do it. And there's a decision that we made for, on my wife's part. And, a lot of people might look at it and scrutinize it and feel that it isn't the best thing to get done. But hey, if it's critical for you and your business, then, that's just what you have to get. That's just what you have to do. I'm sure when people have a live-in nanny, there's other people that are going to say, hey, do you know this woman? Is she trustworthy? Are you sure you made the right decision? I'm sure when I quit my social service job to start my business or to focus more on my business, I'm pretty sure there were people that, maybe they didn't say it to me directly, but were concerned about me leaving behind a government job to pursue a business, especially something that's multi-level marketing. A lot of people have their reservations when it comes to that. And so definitely I remember my dad telling me, like, hey, son, can you go back to your job? But they're just looking out for us. They just don't know. When you focus on something you feel that is critical to get done, push on it. Bet on yourself. Go for it. And so he says, thank God for my amazing team and my wonderful wife and family, because they handle all the other things to help so that he can be freed up to focus on the critical things in his business. I remember when I was studying for my securities and I'm going to get back into it, my wife had the idea of putting me in a hotel so that I could just focus on nothing else but studying. And definitely, I had a good score. I was very close to passing. It's a really hard test. A lot of people haven't passed over the years. And, at first I was like, nah, we don't have to do all that. But, She has an awesome mindset for this kind of stuff. And so she was she said, uh, to her, it was the best thing for her to take care of the kids, stay home and look after them while I was stay in the hotel and just focus on studying. Right. And so, if it's a critical thing, do what you guys have to do to get it done. Right. So, um, let's see. It says, let's be clear. I'm missing something here. It says, let's be clear about one thing. A not to do list isn't a. Sorry, I'm going to make some adjustments while we're here. I'll just read it to you. Let's be clear about one thing. A not to do list isn't a not want to do list. All right. So it's not that you don't want to do these kind of things. It's not that you don't want to go to the grocery store. It's just that you have to, it says here, you can't put items on this list just because you want to avoid them. The point isn't to be ducking the difficulties. It's to focus on the critical things. The point is to isolate a few things that you're uniquely suited to drive your business forward. See, I'm pretty good at coaching and training people, and so the reason why I quit my job as in the social services is because I needed to focus on people that come into the team. I need to help the brand new people, help get them going. Manning up isn't about dodging things or skirting your duties. On the contrary, it's about stepping up to do the really hard things and making sure that you have the strength and bandwidth to do them without feeling overwhelmed or rushed. Your not to do list is there to protect your time and make sure that you're spending it on the highest value work, the work that delivers the best results in profits, service, and outcome. And in your personal life, your not to do list is there to ensure that you do not do the activities that lower your quality of life or interact with people who bring you negativity. Here's the bottom line. All right. It says your not to do list is just as valuable as your to do list. And it's the secret to being high performance all the time. All right. I love that. So, again, the bottom line is your not to do list is just as valuable as the things that you feel you got to do. All right. It is the secret to being high performance all the time. All right. That's awesome, guys. So, focusing on the things that you have to stop doing, you got to stay away from, right? We always have that list of things that we got to get done. And here's Bedros Keuilian telling us, hey guys, you guys got to focus on your not to do list. Here's things you got to stop doing. Stop eating out, stop spending money here, stop spending money there. And get those things out of your daily routine. All right, so now finishing off this chapter, guys, as we always do, we are here for the exercise of our chapter. And he says here, I want you to create a not to do list. Again, the not to do list by asking yourself a simple question. What am I not delegating to others that I don't want to be doing myself? What am I not delegating to others that I don't want to be doing myself? In other words, if there are things that you are doing throughout your day, if there's things that you are doing throughout your routine that you don't want to be doing yourself, if you want someone else to take care of these trivial things, these things that don't really matter, the things that are not as important in your busy life, in your career, in your schedule, in your business, why aren't you delegating those tasks onto other people in your team, to people in your organization? Why aren't you doing that? And so he says, make that list based on that question. Create that not to do list by asking that question. What am I doing to delegate to others? What am I delegating to my team, my staff, all right, to my coworkers? And he says, it might take you some time to answer that question, right? It might take you some time, and definitely think it over. Take the time to go through that list and make sure that you compose it well. Resist the urge to hold on to stuff that's currently on your to-do list. All right. So there's things that I'm really adamant about doing myself when I should be allowing others to help out on those things, or I should, you know, pay the dang $25 for a haircut and go get the haircut instead of doing it myself. Right? Um, Resist the urge to hold on to stuff that's currently on your to-do list. Think of this as spring cleaning for your to-do list. That's awesome, guys. Awesome. So, very, very good chapter. Um, and we are at 36 minutes. We're going to wrap it up. We're definitely grateful to be hearing this, to get your not to do list going. All right, things that you got to focus. If there's something in your day that you're doing that can be delegated, that should be delegated to someone else, uh, push it on to that other person. Let them get paid for it. Let them get that blessing, and you focus on what's more important in your life, what's more important in your marriage, what's more important for your family, what's more important for your career, for your business, whatever it is, guys. So I pray that you're doing well. I pray that you are blessed. There's a lot of craziness going on. I just wanted to get a chapter out there because it's been a while. It's been a couple of weeks, and help. Pray for me that I don't spend so much time away. I want to put this book away, guys. I want to put this book away with y'all and move on to the next project. And if there's anything that you guys feel that we should be covering here, if there's anything you guys want to see in the channel, leave us a comment, follow us on, and share us. We're trying to get this channel growing already. All right. And so it's been over a little over a year since I first started my first video. And the real issue for me, I believe, is consistency. But, I'm excited about where this thing is going to go. Either way, guys, I pray you're doing well. Always, keep the Lord first. God, family, business, always. God, family, business. All right, keep it in that order, and that's the only way you're going to be prosperous and successful. And again, hope you're doing well. God bless y'all, and see you in the next one.